People call and they're like, hey, is Glenn there? And I'm like, hey, it's Alex. Yeah, I'm Glen Shelly. And they're like, hey, Glenn, I want to tell you. And then I'm finally like, all right, I'll be Glenn today. Glen Shelly for me has been the realization of my hobby. And I've been empowered to make it a business. And it's been a huge learning curve. Started in Colorado, camped in the BLM land National Forest, got up just after first light, broke camp and went driving. The Southwest just transforms into this magical world in the winter. Being able to experience that through the lens of the M Coupe, it's kind of laid dormant the last few years. Digging it out, defending off the cat, Gustavo, awakening it into this time and place is just really cool. When it comes to the evolution of the automobile, we live in a fantastic era. And that era is gonna end. There's a bell curve of mechanical evolution, performance handling power, driver feedback. The percentage of people who recognize what an E46 M3 is and value it for that has grown tremendously. I exist for the person that has always wanted an E46 M3, a 997, 911. Finally got to a point in life where they can afford it, where they have a place to put it, where it's not gonna cause them to have to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for 2 years like my M Coupe did. We take that person that's maybe looking at this world, we offer them the experience to discover them, to discover how awesome they are. And so I'm kind of the gatekeeper to make sure it's a positive experience. I bought this business from another pilot. He wasn't really an enthusiast. The name Glen Shelly came from this person's father's friend who heckled him as a teenager. I think he hated him, but he liked the name Glen Shelly because it sounded like a race car driver. So I'm literally saddled to that name and rewardingly have made it my own. So my dad growing up had an E-Type Jaguar. In the 90s when there was this whole convertible roadster craze, the BMW Z3 really epitomized the modern representation of the British roadster. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, that is beautiful. And I didn't even know about the M Coupe. The M Coupe was like a skunk works project. And one day in Centerville, Utah, I was flying this hang gliding site where the landing zone was a Land Rover dealership. There was an Imola red Z3 M Coupe, and I knew it, I could see that it was a Z3, but it was weird. It was like wonky proportions and had huge fender flares in this funky hatchback. It was this melding of my childhood to what I valued as an adolescence in the BMW with this funky clown shoe looking thing. And so that started the path. It's like that episode of Seinfeld where Jerry was dating the woman that in certain light she was pretty and in another light he was Sometimes it looks so sleek and so just pronounced, and then other times it just looks bulbous and incorrectly proportioned. It's pretty polarizing. So the other thing my dad instilled with me is the passion for flight. From my earliest memory, literally all I wanted to do was fly. And I had a somewhat tumultuous youth. As a teenager, the dream of flying was too far out of reach. I just wasn't gonna be good enough. I was too much of a screw up. I didn't have the confidence. By the time I was in my young 20s, I had kind of turned my ship around enough to know this is what I wanna do. And I did, I made that dream become a realization. When I'm in the air, it's where I belong. I love thinking three-dimensionally. It's literally my sacred place. In the droves of working as a young regional airline pilot, the car world was kind of my escape from the arduous part of flying. But as the car business has taken a larger role in my life, they almost have switched, because when I'm flying, there really isn't room for anything else. When I got the M Coupe, it was by far the fastest car I'd ever owned. Eventually I realized if I'm going out and shredding mountain roads in this, I'm really not doing society a great service. So I got involved with the BMW Club. went to a high performance driving school and came up through the ranks as a student. So my red M Coupe, I evolved to the point where it was a pretty competitive time trial car, but at the same time I'd have that little voice that was like, oh, I don't want to go 4-off. When I found out about an M Coupe race car, it's safe, arguably more sacrificable, and it relieves that little bit of a kernel of doubt I have in those moments. I've kind of like to live in my little corner of the market, and my attitude is like, I don't have any competitors. I'm not in it to take from you so I can gain. What I've tried to do is really like approach these cars journalistically, find what's special in them, and then tell their story and hopefully make them a little better along the way. I would like to think by being experience motivated and by wanting to share the experience that owning these cars has brought to me, it's allowed us to not have to deal with the BS that comes with like selling used cars. That sucks. I hate dealers. I always hated dealers. Your motives are to benefit at my expense. I don't want to do business with you. My guiding motive has been to provide an experience that I add value to, and then hopefully make enough money to make the time worth it, to make the overhead worth it, and to keep the lights on. Life's too short for boring cars. And when we connect with that, it makes all the hard parts of this worth it. There's a lot of uncertainty in life right now. It doesn't make sense for me to keep this car. I always have a cool car in my quiver I can drive, or something that needs miles put on it to fix. And we have a race car now that kind of showed up in the picture, and that's a way better car to use on the racetrack. Bringing it out and driving it in the desert, in the snow, in the hills. I can't sell this car. Part of me, it was Genesis. It's challenged me to become more of an adult, perfect the art of failure. Up there in the wet and the snow and the sand, those are the conditions I thrive in. I've paid basically to do this the entire time I've done it. It's definitely not all sunshine and roses here. Every small business owner can relate to it. And I think it's important to address that because A, it shows that we're human beings. B, it gives value to doing it right, as I believe if we play the long game, it will ultimately reward us. And we have made the world within this microcosm of this car community a better place in the process. That's what keeps me going.